Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Joining me, you know him, you love him. He's the host of the NBA Bit. Give it up for Mike Zakarian.
There we go. This is a third
Yay.
time, right? This is my third time on
I
here.
think so.
Let's go. I need a Saturday Night Live. I want a jacket. If I get to 5 times,
Oh,
I'll
baby.
provide it. You don't have to buy me one, but I think I'm gonna get a blazer.
Well, hopefully you get a blazer, but with a patch that has like different numbers. Like you
Yeah,
need like like the birthday candles. Like you need the 0 through 9, and then you can
it just
switch
update.
it up because hopefully you become one of the regulars on this
There,
show. That's
I
the
like that.
idea,
That's a great
right? I
idea.
like to have rotating guests here.
Well, it's an honor to be a part of the rotation.
There you go. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. We are going to talk a little bit All-Star Weekend. I know we're recording this on a Friday. It happened like pretty much a week ago now. We were supposed to do this yesterday. I had technical issues. I apologize for that. So we're a day late. Also, my puppy Zelda is in a crate right now, and hopefully she behaves and is a lovely puppy. But if she makes any noises, I do apologize. It is not easy to train a puppy ever, let alone in this hellish winter we're having.
Listen, this
So
wouldn't be the first podcast that you heard a dog in the background. You know,
yeah, that's true.
just deal with it.
It's just what it is,
Yeah.
Well, before we get into All-Star and stuff like that, we got to talk about Wemby. Really unfortunate injury. He's out for the season. I'm forgetting the technical term here, but it's essentially a blood clot that's in his shoulder.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, that means you're immediately out. Usually you end up taking blood thinners for this. I'm not sure if he's having a surgery. I don't think he is, but essentially they feel confident that they've caught this, early enough and that they'll be able to get a handle on it for next season. Devastating for the Spurs, devastating for me because he was my number one pick in my fantasy team.
Oh God.
So it was like I just immediately lost, well, it was $25. I'll live. But still,
Yeah,
I like being competitive,
yeah.
and he's my guy.
That's
So
brutal.
yeah, that's disappointing for me, which is the only thing this show is about. But but I mean, in terms of the Spurs, they have De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if they're going to be bad enough to like tank and become a part of like the Cooper Flag sweepstakes or anything like that. But really, really unfortunate news here to start the post All-Star break
Yeah.
NBA.
Yeah, it was a bummer, especially after just making that trade for De'Aaron Fox and almost making it seem like they were going to try to get into the play-in. I don't think they'll be able to go full on tank and get a shot at Cooper Flag. Although we saw Atlanta get the number 1 pick last year, and they definitely weren't supposed to.
That's right.
So they'll still have a shot. And speaking of Atlanta, the Spurs have their first round pick too. So now it looks like they'll have 2 lottery picks heading into this year's draft. So that's a real glass half full energy to just try to be like, it's not that bad, San Antonio. But yeah, what was funny was them going out last night and then beating the Phoenix Suns, which, man, the vibes just like couldn't be worse than they are in Phoenix. But hopefully, I mean, they do make it, the Spurs organization made it sound like this was an isolated incident, like you said, and hopefully it's not something that continues. I believe I was listening to I think it was Brian Windhorst was reporting on it and was saying like this is one of those things where if it like happens again, then you're on like the medication forever. And that's kind of like what Chris Bosh was dealing
Yeah,
with.
his career would be over if it happens again,
Right.
essentially.
And so you're almost ruined. I believe actually new Toronto Raptor, Brandon Ingram, I think dealt with this a couple of years ago.
Yeah, which I didn't realize until this
Yeah.
happened, that Brandon Ingram had almost the exact same issue, but he's
Yeah.
made a full recovery.
Right. And Asar Thompson, I know, is a different area of the body, I believe, but Asar Thompson from the Pistons dealt with something similar. So, and he's playing now. So hopefully, yeah, just like a one-off thing. Just scary though. It's just not what you wanted to see like coming out the All-Star break.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he was very much on track to be Defensive Player of the Year, was having, a great year to the point where Anthony Edwards said in one of the many press scrums they have during All-Star, when asked, are you, if you want to be the next face of the league, he just explicitly said, no, that's Wemby.
Yeah. Ant-Man's too, I think he's like too candid to be the face of the league. I think that's his problem. It's too candid.
Possibly. Which might have been Kevin Durant's problem to some extent.
Yeah.
Right? He's very honest. He's a very honest man.
Yeah. I'm so like, I was always a Kevin Durant fan, but in the last like 2 years, I've become even more of an aggressive Kevin Durant fan. He's the only person I would have said outside of Kevin Love, but Kevin Love took a rare L this week with his social media presence. But
wait, what did Kevin Love do?
He took a shot at Angel Reese, and it was a joke.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he just like commented under something about I'm going to take the under. I forget what the exact quote was, and it was tongue in cheek. It wasn't like a real shot. Like it was definitely supposed to be a joke, but he had really thread the needle of like it felt like he was punching up a little bit, doing a good job of commenting without. He's just Icarus, a little too close to the sun. I think he's going to take an L there. But KD online is fantastic. He's and then this new Netflix documentary that's coming out, which I know Canadians might be trying not to watch since it's a reminder of the Olympic flameout. But KD,
what's it? It's called it's called something gold.
Yeah, count the gold.
Count the gold. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. For us, it's a count to the quarterfinals or whatever it was. But yeah,
a lot of Dylan Brooks for Team Canada.
Yeah, you know what? 2028 is going to be really interesting for Team Canada.
Yeah,
really interesting because there's going to be more Canadians on the come up, but it's not going to be the exact same team, right? Like Shea, you would assume is there, but like we didn't have Zach Edey this time. Right. I'm not sure why, like there's going to be different players on that team. It's going to be interesting. And then somebody like Dylan Brooks, who, is a good player.
Sure.
He's inconsistent offensively, but consistent defensively. It's like, he might be on the cusp.
Yeah.
For that team. Anyway, that's a very I'm going really off the rails here.
No, that's okay. I thought Dylan Brooks was older too, and I just looked it up. He's 29. So yeah, I feel like he'll still probably be on the cusp there.
Yeah, like he might, like it's one of those like, will you make the team? Will you not make the team? Maybe you're coming off the bench. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm just interested. It's very interesting to see how Team Canada will evolve over these next few years.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kevin Durant, you love him even more. I'm with you on this. So I was like a really big early OKC fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was obsessed with that team. And then when it all fell apart, I was very sad. And I didn't love the move to Golden State like many people.
Sure.
A lot of people try to walk that back. I'll own it that I didn't like it at the time. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that I didn't. Although you can look at it at hindsight and be like, well, where else was he going to go? Blah, blah, blah. He won 2 championships there, almost won a third. But now it's like my love for him has come all the way back. I mean, it's unfortunate that he paired with Kyrie when Kyrie was like really going through it.
Yeah.
Like if he had this year Kyrie Irving, that Brooklyn situation would have been very, very different. But yeah, I would love to see Durant win a championship. It doesn't look like it's going to happen in Phoenix. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, period.
No, I'm curious to see what happens this summer because I know the rumblings have already started that he probably won't be in Phoenix for this time next year. So curious what the market is like for KD. Now he's 36, but he's been playing in the league for such a long time. Not to say he's washed or anything. Like he's still playing really, really good basketball. And I'm sure he's still got a few years left of that. But I'm curious, like, what another team would pay for that. Like, what is he like a first round pick? Is it a first round pick plus players? Like, I'd be very curious. But it sounds like, again, I watched a lot of that San Antonio Phoenix game last night, and I'm like, San Antonio was running out Harrison Barnes, Chris Paul, like Devin Vassell, De'Aaron Fox, and then like Keldon Johnson or Jeremy Sohan, whatever. They had no big guys. Like Bismack Biyombo, I think, played like 15 minutes. And somehow the Phoenix Suns lost that game. Like the vibes are just bad. The vibes are bad in Phoenix. Feeling for them.
And I'm sure that must have felt great for Chris Paul.
I'm sure. Yeah. Apparently, I missed a little bit of this, but apparently CP3 and KD were beefing a little bit last night.
Yeah, they had a trash talk moment on the court,
I love
but
that.
nothing crazy happened. Just a little. I don't even think you could call it a hold me back scenario per se. But
No,
they got in each other's faces a bit, which is funny because Durant's like a whole foot taller than
just
him.
yeah, it just the reach alone. Like you're not. It's like a child and a parent fighting.
But let's move into some all-star stuff for a bit because you were there. This is like
Yeah.
I particularly want to talk to you about All-Star Weekend as someone who got to experience it IRL. So well, we can start with Wemby as we've been already talking about him. He to me was very much the highlight of the All-Star game. And
Yeah.
and then the All-Star Saturday where they threw, okay, I've got some thoughts on this. Him and
Let's
Chris
go.
Paul throwing the skills contest by not attempting a shot and then getting disqualified. Okay, here's the thing. And everybody's like, yeah, that was a stupid move. It was a stupid move. But you know what else is a stupid move? Having a skills contest where you don't have to make the shot.
Agreed.
What are we doing?
Yeah, just keep shooting until you make it. That's a great
What?
point. I don't think anyone's made that point yet.
Thank you. Thank
That-
you.
That's a
How?
great point.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Spread it to the masses for me.
yeah.
Like I need the world to understand this is a
Also,
skills contest.
also,
If you can't shoot the ball, what are we doing?
yeah. Can we swear on this?
Yes.
Let him fucking cheat. Let him cheat. Who cares? That was hilarious. That was hilarious. I was there and
And to have to read a book before doing that.
yeah. Yeah, right? I was taking a video of it. I actually like went semi-viral, and I don't know why that video did because I couldn't have been further away, like in the
Yeah, like
arena.
you're in the press area where you're like at the top.
I was way up there, yeah,
Yeah.
way up there, and it like popped off a little bit because it just looks ridiculous. Where they're just like, it's like a child. It's a child in a gym class, in a phys ed class, was like, "Oh, what if we just like throw the balls as fast as we can, like that?" And I honestly thought it was kind of funny. I'm glad that I like that everybody booed him. Like it was one of
Yeah.
those. It was one of those things where I host a trivia night, or like a quiz. I don't know if you're from England. I think you call it quiz night or
We
whatever.
call it trivia
You
night
call it
here.
trivia? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you, I have this rule that when we read off the scores, we clap for every team, unless a team goes 10 for 10, and then we all boo them. If like there's 10, right? And to me is fun booing. I think that is like a community building boo. And that's what I
What
thought.
kind of trivia is this?
It's aggressive. It's aggressive trivia. but I think that's
It's
like
trivia about aggression?
no. No, it's all over the place. It's a bunch of stuff.
Okay, it's just general trivia. It's
General
not like
trivia. Yeah.
NBA trivia night.
No.
Okay,
No,
cool.
this is just
Understood.
assisting to pay the bills is what I'm doing.
Got it.
But I thought that was good booing. I thought it was like
Yes.
good, like it was fun. And like, listen, and then the NBA comes out and they're like, well, by the letter of the law, if you look at the rules, you actually have to attempt to make a shot, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? If you want to take it seriously, don't have Kevin Hart talking during the game on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, pick
I
a
couldn't
lane.
stand him. I couldn't
Oh,
stand him. He was
I think
so unfunny the whole time and brought nothing to it. Even Shay was like, "Can you stop talking?"
I know. And I also, listen, I will say, and this is not to defend Kevin Hart. That was like a thankless role in the sense that, like, or not thankless role, the degree of difficulty, I think, to be like, try to be funny
Mm,
in real time while the game's going on in an arena. Like, it's not like we were in a comedy club or in like a small setting. It was just like, it wasn't going to work. It was a bad idea from the
right.
jump. And I don't, but again, it's just so funny to me that Adam Silver's like, we need the players to be trying. And then you do that, like mixed
Yeah.
messaging.
Completely agree. And also good point in terms of like that's such a hard gig for literally any
Yeah.
comedian because I find often stand-ups get hired for things that they should not
Mm-hmm.
be hired for.
100.
Particularly birthday parties, okay?
Yeah, that's real
You
dumb.
think you want a stand-up comedian at your birthday party, you don't. you're really looking for like a magician or a
Yeah.
clown. You are not actually looking for a stand. You're like, I want people to laugh, but stand-up comedy is meant to be like a little bit rebellious.
Yeah. You want
So
people to
that's
laugh.
why like the Shaq roast jokes were the only time he got a laugh.
Right.
But also like, why are we roasting Shaq in the middle of a game? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Just pick a lane. Pick a lane. You want this to be serious? You want them to try? Then like make it a basketball game. Because I promise you, like, yeah, the Kevin, like, I'm sure there was a group that were at the game. They were like, oh, cool. It's Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's here. I've never been in the same place. Sure. I'm sure that was there. But I promise you, most of the people that are going to All-Star Game weekend like basketball. You know what I mean? Like they want to see
Yeah.
basketball. That's why they're there. Just play basketball.
Yeah. And I also feel like, there was an interesting back and forth on the broadcast with Draymond Green and
Mhm.
Charles Barkley, where Draymond was basically like, this is ridiculous. Why are the rising stars here on Sunday night? This ruins things for, all-star MVP and like history books and things like that. And then Chuck basically went back and was like, well, your generation was the one who decided not to care. And that's why we're here. I feel like they're both right. Like, they both bring up very valid points
Yeah.
in that scenario.
My co-host of the show Hoop Sense, Trayvon Edwards, who's a real, and also he just dropped a new podcast with Seth Curry. Guy's
Oh,
cooking.
cool.
Guy's cooking. He had a really good point where he just said, why are you guys bringing this up now? Like,
Yeah.
we knew this was the format for like 6 months. Draymond, you got a podcast. Shaq, you got you're on TV like twice a week. How come nobody brought up any concerns until right now? I thought that was a good point. I like
Mhm.
I get what they're both saying. Like, if you want to have the conversation of like, oh, the rising stars shouldn't have an opportunity to make it to the All-Star game because they're not All-Stars. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. And if I also agree with Shaq that like we're trying these new things because nothing else has worked in the last like 10 years. And I agree with that too. But I think neither of them provided a solution. You know what I'm saying? Like neither of them,
Absolutely.
like they're just, they're just yelling takes off. I guess kind of like we are right now. But I just
Yeah,
didn't.
but that's our job.
Right.
That's what we do. We're not on the broadcast.
Right. Right. We're not. We're not. And so I think that's where when I have frustrations with it, like give me some sort of solution here of what you would like to see. I also thought it was like, why is this is just poking the bear, I guess, but like, why is Draymond qualified to speak on this? Because he's not participating in the All-Star game either. So like,
He
I
did the skills contest?
oh, that's right. Yes, he did
Yeah.
do the skills. So I guess because you did the skills contest, you then get to go on TV and talk about it. But I don't know. I
They didn't cut back to him, I noticed after that.
oh really? So
Yeah.
Big Daddy NBA stepped in. They said no more.
Whoever that guy was that was showing Chris Paul the rules
Yeah,
and he cut off, oh, I'm blanking on her name. I
Allie
apologize.
LaForce, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Allie LaForce cut off Allie LaForce from interviewing them. He says, "No, we're not going to do that right now." And then even Kevin Arlen was like, "Come on, like you got to push, you got to get yourself in there, Allie."
yeah.
I felt bad for her cuz I'm like, I think she was doing a great job,
Oh yeah, and she for
and
sure
that's
was told
also a
no.
really hard job to be on
Yeah,
the court like that. Like she's, and it's a long night. It's way longer than just a regular game. So
she
yeah.
she for sure was told not to talk to them. Like the NBA absolutely was like, you can't interview him. I'm sure, or interview them. I'm sure that's what happened. But again, that goes back to my point. Like, listen, if you want this to be fun, if you want to take in the final game, if you want to take a 30-minute break to do a Gone Fishing segment with the guys from TNT to
Oh
say
my
thank you for everything
god.
in the middle of the final game, if you want that to be the vibe, then you can cheat in the skills competition. We can laugh at it. Mr. Beast can come out. We can do all of those things, right? But you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, look at this goofy, silly thing we're doing. It's a 3-hour broadcast, 40 minutes of basketball, and then be like, why aren't you guys trying on defense? Like, come on.
It's a boardroom of suits
Yeah.
who just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Truly.
And I don't, and like to almost call myself out. Like, I don't really have a solution for how they fix it. I mean, being in the building, I thought the basketball was fun. Like, I really enjoyed Friday night, the Rising Stars stuff. I thought they did a really good job of balancing, like, this is an exhibition game, but also, like, we kind of want to win. So there's, like, moments of defense. Like, I think there was something there. And then same thing on Sunday. I thought the All-Star game, like, the basketball itself was fun. Like, you got Wemby blocking shots. You had Steph Curry hitting a half-court shot. Like, that's the shit people are there to see. It's not, and honestly, I make fun of Mr. Beast. I'm not like a beast head. That's not my guy. That event was kind of sick. Like seeing a kid win 100K because he outshot Dame. Like,
okay, I got opinions on this.
Okay. You hate children, right? Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I hate children. Let's take that out of context. No, that segment was saved by the fact that he made that shot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What a major downer that would be if he did it. Also, Dame's absolutely missing on purpose. He's not trying to, like,
I hope so.
steal this guy's dreams.
Yeah,
there's no way he wasn't missing on purpose. Like, he's kind of like, come on, kid, like, you got to make the whole setup is stupid.
So do you think it's rigged?
No, it's not rigged. He made the shot.
Yeah.
But why would you put that kid in that scenario? Like, I was like, I was like screaming at the TV, like, give the kid the money.
Well, so if they had
just give the kid the money. This is crazy.
I mean, I think you have to do it like some other contests do it where you're like, okay, well, if he doesn't make it, he still gets like 10 grand or something like that. Like, there still has to be something if you don't beat him. I'm thinking about that scene in the first, I think in the pilot episode of Succession where they almost give the kid $1 million if he can like hit the home run or whatever. I don't know if you're a Succession fan.
I am, but I haven't seen season 1 in a long time.
Yeah. And it was just, I think it's in the pilot and they end up tagging him out at the plate so he can't get the $1 million. And it's like this child and their family's all freaking out because they think their kid's going to get $1 million and then they tag him out like right at the end. But so that's what it kind of would have felt like if Dame ended up just going bang, 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 knocked all 3 down.
No, it's like, I mean, it's like, to me, this is fine in the arena. Do this in the arena.
Yeah.
Don't make it part of the broadcast.
That's true.
What are we doing? Taking a commercial break, going to that, and then cutting again. It's ridiculous. That should have been an in-arena experience only.
Yeah,
and the Mr. Beast part of it, like, he had nothing to do with it. He didn't make the segment better or worse or anything, right? Like, he was completely unnecessary. And again, just a bunch of suits in a boardroom being like, how do we cater to Gen Z?
Yeah,
and then they're like, well, there's this Mr. Beast guy. Let's throw some money and time at him. And it's like, oh my God, what are we doing?
I'm with you.
One last thing I wanted to say about the broadcast, something you said earlier made me think of this. One thing that I feel ruins, generally the product of basketball is commentators not understanding what's going on and not liking what they see. And I'm not trying to say that they can't be critical at all, but it's like when broadcasters are like, I don't understand the rules. What's going on? Why are we doing this? It's like, it's your job to inform us.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Because I didn't see, I didn't hear most of the broadcast. What was a moment where they were just like ill-informed or just not able to talk to it?
Well, I feel like in All-Star specifically, they generally understood the format because they were like involved in the draft or whatever, but they didn't seem to like really care or like engage and like actually talk about the game like it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just in other regular NBA games when there's like something going on with the officials. I get it takes time to figure it out, but sometimes they're just confused and go, oh, this, and then like dismiss it. And it's like, you can't do that and expect people to like what they're watching.
No, I'm with you. That makes sense. Yeah, you got to care about it. Because if you don't care about it, I don't care about it. And then why am I watching this if I don't care?
Exactly. And I think like the only way to fix it, quote unquote, fix it, is for the players to care. That's it. You go back to basketball and they have to care. And I think Wemby, hopefully he's fine and he comes back and he has the career we all want him to have. If he cares and he becomes the face of the league, everyone else will fall in line.
Yeah. I also think
Like, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take the best player in the league caring, right? LeBron hasn't cared. Steph maybe has cared to some degree, but and I'm not saying they need to care to the extent of like a game that counts, because they never have. Like, even before, back in the day, it was always a bit fluff, but like, if Wemby shows up with his book and he's like, okay, let's go, and Jokic is never going to care, and that's fine. But like, it's part of his appeal.
Jokic, I will say Jokic actually tried more this game than he has in the past.
Yeah, and maybe that was because he saw Wemby show up with his little book, and it was like, okay, now we have to care. I think if they did US versus World, I would love that. I think everybody wants it, and I think they were skirting away from it by doing this weird 4-part little draft thing. It was like they basically wanted to do US versus the world, but then they thought they couldn't, so they were like doing it in this weird roundabout way. To me, Mike, I feel it's very un-American to be afraid of the competition.
Yeah, I think we're in a state of, not to speak for the entire country of America, but I feel like we are at a place where we don't really know what American is. So we're taking over bodies of water. We're threatening to take over countries. We're giving Kobe Bryant something. Like I don't really know what we're doing right now. I do know we lost a hockey game last night.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, I'd be for that. I'd be for that too. I think I'm still formulating this take, but I do think there's something about the All-Star game that is like a nostalgic thing where we were kids when the All-Star game was cool, and then we grow up and we think the All-Star game is supposed to still feel like it was when we were 12, and I just don't think I almost want to talk to people who are 70 to be like, were you really like, rock hard for the All-Star game in the late 80s? Like, was that really what you were into? Because I wonder if we're just always chasing that like nostalgia high of being like, man, if they just wore those jerseys they wore in 1992, I would give a shit again. I do think like the dunk contest is broken, but like the All-Star game itself, I always wonder. I was just like, is this like? I bet if you talk to a 10-year-old at the game, I don't think they were probably like, man, I just wish Damian Lillard would defend a little bit harder. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's what it's for.
Look, if I ever have a 10-year-old in this life, they will be saying that, but most 10-year-olds aren't. I agree. The All-Star game has always been for kids. Although the 70-year-old who watched in the mid 80s probably did take it seriously, because what else were they going to watch? Dynasty? What else were they going to watch?
Yeah, Shoresy wasn't available yet.
Yeah, they couldn't watch Shoresy. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a good enough riff on All-Star.
Yeah, we did a tight 30 on the All-Star game.
And Wemby, we talked a bit about Wemby.
That's true. We did some Wemby.
Okay, so now that we're going into this last stretch of the regular season here, who do you think is going to make a strong push for the playoffs and or play in, and which team do you think is going to fall in the standings here?
I'm pretty interested, starting like positive, in what's going on in Indiana right now. Pacers also got like a pretty good win last night against the Memphis Grizzlies, and they've like low-key been playing defense. And I think we know, when you think about Indiana, especially last year, it's like, oh, they're just going to score 145 points. Like, that's how they win. They outscore you. They're actually like defending a little bit. I think they held Memphis to like 102 or 106, something like that last night. And they now got a little bit of a lead on the Bucks and the 4 seed. I don't really see him catching the Knicks or the Celtics or anything like that, but I do think they've become a little bit more of a formidable opponent than I think we think of them. You know what I mean? I think they're a little bit better than we're giving them credit for, or at least that I am. So I'm kind of excited to see how they finish the season. A little spicy P, Pascal Siakam, honestly, is like turned into their best player lately. And then Halliburton and Tim Hardaway Sr., not even Jr., Tim Hardaway Sr. are feuding. Which is
what?
Yeah, Tim Hardaway Sr. had some crazy quote that was like, I wish I could still suit up and play, and I would F up Halliburton. And I think it's because I like Halliburton constantly cooks his son. I don't really know where it's coming from. Also, Tim Hardaway Sr., you don't want people pulling up your quotes, man. All right. Some of us remember. You don't want to be pulling up your quotes. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the Pacers run. And then I think on the West, like for stuff that I like about a team falling, that like 7 through 11, I think is pretty. You know what? I'm going to say 6 through 11 because I think the Clippers are going to fall back a little bit. But it's like Clippers, Timberwolves, Suns, Warriors, Kings. I might be forgetting one team in there too.
No, yeah, you got it. Clippers, Timberwolves, Mavericks.
Mavericks. And like
Yeah.
the margin for error is so thin, and it's crazy that like 3 of those teams are straight up, or 2 of those teams are straight up not going to make no. One of those teams will not make the play-in. Right?
That's
Like
right.
one of them.
The Suns are 11th right now.
Right. And then 3 games under 500. So I think that like one won't make the play-in, but 3 of them won't make the playoffs total. And to think like, the Warriors just traded for Jimmy Butler. Do they get in? The Clippers are falling back a little bit. The Mavericks have like, I think I'm playing for the Mavericks right now because they're like so hurt and injured. I don't know. So I feel like
Imagine they call me and they're like, "Hey, Cathryn, we need a big," and
Dude.
I'm like, "How dare you?"
Wait, the lawsuit's in the mail. The lawsuit is in the mail.
Anyway,
but yeah, I just like monologued on that. I don't know. What do you think about that whole like West side of things? I feel like we're gonna have big names on the playoffs.
So the Mavericks are interesting because I feel like they are a good team, but they have so many injuries. I don't know if they're going to be able to really recover. I mean, so Anthony Davis, I believe, is out for another 2 weeks, or he's being reevaluated in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, if they don't get Anthony Davis back by early mid-March, I think it's a wrap for them. And then I don't know what Kyrie's future is going to be with that team either. So that I don't feel very confident about. I think the Kings 9th, I think they're going to more or less stay put. The Warriors are interesting to me. They're 10th right now. I can see them improving in the stands, but I don't know if they'll be able to improve to the point where they're not a play-in team.
Yeah, I agree.
So that'll be interesting. But imagine like they trade for Jimmy Butler and then they lose in the play-in. That would be
That's what I'm saying. There's
massive disappointment.
There's a lot of stakes in this, right? Like Phoenix's last stand basically with this group. And it seems like for sure they're not going to be in the playoffs, let alone the play-in. Then you've got like the Warriors, like you just said, they made that pretty big move for Jimmy. And then you have like Dallas forfeited their long-term future with Luka to win now. And there's like a real possibility where they're on the outside looking in. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of jobs at stake,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting July. The Grizzlies are 3rd.
Yeah. Grizzlies are 3rd. Denver caught the Grizzlies and the Rockets. Denver like loses once a month now.
Do you think the Grizzlies are going to stay put in the top 4?
I think so. Mainly because that was my big preseason take that the Memphis was going to host.
For you.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to take a victory lap here. Was that the Grizzlies were going to host a playoff series? So I think what's cool about Memphis is if you just saw their record, you would have been like, "Wow, John Morant must be having an awesome year," and he's not. Like he's been fine, but he's playing like every other game. He rests a lot. Jaren Jackson Jr. has like straight up been their best player. Baines missed a ton of time, but he looks healthy now. And so for Memphis to be doing this well while also not having like peak Ja and to be missing some guys, I don't know. I feel like I like Memphis a lot. I don't know like how far they're going to go in the playoffs. It just seems like Denver and OKC are on a crash course for a Western Conference Finals meetup.
The Lakers are currently 5th. They don't have a center.
No disrespect to Jackson Hayes.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit. It was a little bit of disrespect to Jackson Hayes, but just a little bit.
But I guess like he's regularly a backup center and not a starting center.
Correct.
Right. And it's like, I wonder, like how far is that team going to go? Like right now, 4-5 matchup would be them against the Rockets.
Yeah, I think I would take him over Houston, and I'm sorry, Houston fans. I think I would, just because LeBron, even though Luke is playing like he's LeBron's age right now, he looks.
He
I
looks
joined a
rough.
yeah, I joined a 40 and over league. Like the second I turned 40, I joined it, and this is the first time in my entire life where I'm seeing what Luke is doing, and I'm like, yes, brother. Like that's that's me too. Like I'm just calling out get that guy. Like I'm just telling other people what to do without running around
But
that
you're
much.
supposed to be the young blood in that league.
I also see the young blood. I informed them that no.
You mean you lied on about your age on the application? Like
No,
you
no, no.
joined when you turned 40, but you're like, I'm 45?
I told them I was 40, but I was like, I have purposely not played organized basketball for like 6 or 7 years because I was afraid of getting hurt. So I was, I was like, it's gonna be a slow, gradual process. We had a really funny moment where this illustrates the entirety of the league, where it was a really close game. There was a couple of seconds left. Our team was down 2, and I was open for a 3 to like possibly win the game. Instead, I made a pass to a guy that made a layup, and we go to overtime. And I shit you not, the ball goes in. Somebody on the other team screams, "Come on! I want to see my family!" And then my team is yelling at me too. They were like, "You got to shoot that, man!" Nobody wanted to play 4 more minutes.
Oh my God.
I made what I thought was a very intelligent basketball play. And then everybody yelled at me. My team, their team, the refs were upset. Everybody was mad.
Oh my God.
It was wonderful. Tells you everything you need.
You're like, what is this, an all-star game where none of you care?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Fix this, Adam Silver.
No one cares about basketball anymore.
But yeah, Luka looks tired. Like Luka does look a little sleepy.
But I mean, maybe he came back from this injury too soon, right?
Yeah.
Like he was talking about like, oh, what's the difference between this calf injury and previous calf injuries? And he was like, well, I've given myself some time. And now it's like, maybe he could use more time because he doesn't look like he's 100% there.
Yeah, he really just looks tired. Like I wonder if it's just an on-ramp of him getting used to the minutes again, because I don't think he could do like much for that, at least that first month that he was out. Because I think he missed like almost 2 months where he just couldn't, like he was on a little scooter. And I don't think he was doing too much. And
where he was on a scooter?
He had one of those, like, you like put your knee down so you don't put any pressure on your
okay.
foot.
Yeah,
like one of those like wheel. I don't know if it's called a scooter.
Yeah, I guess, if you're riding around in a scooter for 6 weeks and then you're expected to play NBA basketball, that's a bit rough.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem like somebody that's putting in the extra work at home for like, I don't see him on the Peloton. You know what I mean? When he gets home, I don't think he's got Peloton energy. Which, to be fair, neither do I.
Which is why he got traded.
That's right. That is why he got traded.
Yeah. I mean, my argument to that was like, well, neither was James Harden.
Yeah.
And he's an MVP and was very, on a team that was close to winning a championship. Like you didn't just trade 25-year-old James Harden unless you're OKC.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I wish they were just honest and they said, hey, we don't want to pay people. And like, we don't want to spend that kind of money. Like, cause that's what the ownership, they just didn't want to sign a check. They didn't want to pay him $345 million.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to sell the team to Vegas? That's what people are talking about now.
I don't, but man, I love that stuff. Like I love a theory like that I think is 100%.
It's a really good theory.
Yes. Like it's 100% wrong, I think, but I love that it checks out. That is like, podcasts were built for stuff like that. This is good. Like this is Serial. This is like an NBA Serial.
Oh, NBA Serial.
Yeah.
You know what? If we can pitch that to NPR, I would do that show with you.
I would too. And
I'm not doing it for free. It's not a passion project. It's too much work.
No. And I'd even be less. What's the word? I'd yell less, I guess, because I think if we're going to do something like that, it has to be, I got to talk a little bit more like this instead of I scream a lot. I scream a lot on
It
podcasts.
sounds like a murder mystery, but
Yeah.
it's just, will they sell the
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks
Yeah.
to Las Vegas?
And then there was the Nico call.
And then you get the music.
Yeah. Just somebody on the piano. Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's something here.
Oh yeah, there is. Really fun.
What's the starting line base salary we need to get to fire this up, you think? Would you do this for 200,000?
Yes.
Me too. There we go. That is
Yeah. I would do it for that. I would do it for half of that.
But
then they got to pay an editor. Like, I'm not editing any of it.
editing.
I'm not editing any of it. No. No, they got to get an editor. But anyway, yeah, fun.
That is a fun idea.
NBA cereal.
Yeah.
And then it's like the logo is like a Wheaties box.
Mm-hmm. But like just blood, just like blood dripping. I mean, we gotta like really lean into the true crime.
Oh my God. All right. That's absolutely ridiculous and amazing. Eastern Conference wise, I think the play-in is going to be an absolute joke in this conference.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter one bit.
Nope.
Right now it's 7 is Magic, 8 is Heat, 9th are the Hawks, 10th are the Bulls. I think those teams are going to slip. The Sixers are done. They're at 11th, which is crazy. I don't think anybody saw that coming at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I imagine Orlando and Miami will take those 7-8 spots and it'll just be a wrap there. Like, I just don't see anything particularly interesting happening in the East in those spots. I like your thoughts about the Pacers though. Their team to watch. I think that 4th spot is going to be crucial in terms of not facing the Cavs or the Celtics in the second round. I think that's what's going to be the big fight between them and Milwaukee. That's probably going to be the most interesting Eastern Conference standing situation.
Mean who ends up having to play the Cavs?
Yeah, or the Celtics. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like assuming the Celtics won't catch the Cavs, but you're right. They still could. Yeah, I feel like those two teams. Well, yeah, I guess like you're going to have to face one of them. But anyway, I mean, it's like I think that's going to be a huge thing in terms of matchups down the line. Yeah, I think so too. I also, like you mentioned Orlando, I would be, if I'm Cleveland, I'd be so pissed off if you win 60-something games.
Oh, and you have to see Orlando in the first round.
Yeah, because like Orlando, I know Orlando came back down to earth a little bit, but they've just been without Jalen Suggs for like a month too. And I think we've learned he's like their engine.
He is like their point guard, right? Like Cole Anthony Jr. is doing his best, but he's definitely a backup point guard.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll be curious. Like, and even if they finished in the 7th seed, like I wouldn't be thrilled. I'm obviously a Celtics fan. But I still think that I wouldn't be pumped to play Orlando in the first round.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? If it ended up being Cleveland, Orlando, they would get like the really crappy like NBA TV slot, and that would be a shame because that would be one of the more interesting matchups probably. But if they face the Celtics, they'll get a good TV slot.
Yeah, and it depends who the other bottom seed is. Like if it's Atlanta, I don't know who's going to be watching Atlanta. Although I guess Trae Young.
No, it looks like I mean it looks like it's going to be Miami.
Yeah,
because I think everyone's predicting the Hawks are going to fall. Even more so.
They've been unlucky with health and then traded everybody.
Yeah. Trae Young. I'm surprised he hasn't been in trade talks.
I know.
And in terms of like superstars wanting out and stuff. Like I thought he would be next.
Yeah, he mentioned something a couple weeks ago about San Antonio. I like that he thought that he might be going over there.
But then De'Aaron Fox happened, so that won't happen.
So that's not happening. Yeah, I'll be curious what Atlanta does this offseason. I mean, they still have like it's still crazy they don't have their first round pick. That's just so nuts. All for DeJounte Murray, who's now on the Pelicans.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our Raptors Homer moment here. Not a lot of Raptors news this past week. We're recording Friday, so they start up again tonight. But because we have Mike here, I thought I'd get your thoughts as an outsider on the whole Brandon Ingram situation. I mean, I feel, we had Vivek Jacob here last week, and he talked about how this was very much a next year move that they just made now because the opportunity was there. What do you think? Do you think he will end up being a good fit on this team?
I was confused by it. I really like this Scotty RJ IQ core
Mm-hmm.
with Grady
Mm-hmm.
Dick too. I think Grady Dick's had a really, really good year.
Yeah, he's had a
Um,
great sophomore year.
yeah, and I just kind of assumed you'd go get more shooting. Like I thought that would be what would be required now is just let's get some more shooting because of the way Scotty plays and the way RJ plays. I think just more outside shooting benefits them quite a bit. And I've heard some Raptors fans will be like, well, we don't really get free agents, and this is how you have to go get a guy. And I was like, yeah, but does it have to be this guy? Like I don't really understand the fit as much. That's not even a shout or shot at Brandon Ingram. I think Ingram is a really good basketball player. He's a very good like ISO bucket getter and can it kind of like DeRozan-esque in the way that he can get to get to the basket, hit the mid range. But again, I mean, like that's Scotty kind of lives in that space, And so I don't know what's been like the general reaction. Are people talking themselves into Ingram? Is there confusion? Like what?
I think there's some confusion for sure. It's a
Yeah.
little bit redundant.
Yeah.
My personal theory is he can kind of create his own shot, and they needed someone other than Scotty who could do that in like a crunch time scenario. But beyond that, I feel like he's going to put pressure on RJ and IQ and Grady Dick, more so RJ and Grady Dick, in terms of their development, because he's gonna take their lunch.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like it's gonna put pressure on them to step up. And I think maybe to some degree that's what they wanted.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you see like, okay, do you end up moving off of Brandon Ingram because these guys are really improving and we have them for less, or like, do we trade high on these guys for somebody else and go from there? I think it's definitely a next year move because Ingram's injured right now and there's not much they could do in the standings anyways. But it's like, I think it's to put pressure on their development in the off season to kind of to keep their lunch, so to speak, which is an interesting way to go about it. I could be wrong, but I think the confusion is because there is some redundancies. So it's like, I feel like that's what it's about.
I don't even want to dispute that because I think that does make sense. It's just that's a very expensive way to try to get your basketball players to play better, like to guarantee somebody.
Well, but they didn't give up that much for them. They did sign the extension,
right?
But it
That's
was
what
like,
I mean.
it was Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and I think some draft capital.
And like I think it's a first, right? I think it was a first round pick.
Yes, I'm blanking on it right now. I'm sorry, everyone.
No, that's okay. I might be wrong too. To me, this feels very Chicago Bulls. Like let's do whatever we can to make sure we win 39 games this year.
I like that take. It is very Chicago Bulls.
But I don't want to like. I do think there is some. I think Toronto fights. I think it's a well coached team, and I think the reason I was bummed about the move is I don't know. I kind of like some of the direction that they're going, even though this year's been tough. I don't know. I've been
it's been tough injury wise and all of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I feel like I'm reserving my sort of like overall thoughts because until we get to kind of see it on the court. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't like, we didn't give up one of those guys for him. That would be weird. I want to push back. You mentioned something important here about Toronto not getting free agents. And I feel like, and I know I'm biased because I'm from Toronto, but I strongly feel that we are a city that should be able to get free agents.
I think so too. Toronto's great.
Toronto's a great city. I know everybody goes on and on about, oh, it's Canada. Oh God, you have to travel with your passport. Well, it's not like a passport weighs 20 pounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to travel with a passport. Like all this stuff, right? But also too, it's like these guys, I think this is a fact I think people don't realize. They get paid in American currency.
Oh.
right? Because they are a part of an American company. They get
Interesting.
paid in American dollars. So when you come to Canada, it's like, oh yes, you pay taxes, but you're living in a land where everything is like 30 to 40% off. Your house,
Wow.
your car. I mean, think about that. Your money goes further here. So it would more than balance the whole tax
All
situation.
right.
And then you're just dealing with the fact that it's cold, but half the time you're on the road anyway.
Well, and it's cold here. It's cold in New
It's
York.
cold in New York, it's cold in Boston, it's cold in
Yeah.
a lot of places. So it's just like I feel like this whole narrative about like Toronto can't get free agents, yes, it's been true, but it's time to turn that around because it's stupid.
Yeah. I this makes me want to get a job for an American company but live in Toronto. That's what
Oh,
this
that is the dream right now. Like the Canadian currency like sucks, like it's
yeah.
so low right now. And it does fluctuate, and like in 2010 it was like more on par, but that's like post financial crisis kind of
Right.
times, but generally speaking, it's like 30%.
All right. Well, listen, American companies that want employees in Toronto, if you are tuning in right now, you can reach out to me.
If you're a Canadian and you get hired by an American company, but you do the work in Canada, like you work remotely or whatever, buddy, you
Yeah.
get to collect that American money and you only pay taxes in Canada. I'm telling you.
All right. I think I'm gonna get on. Do you guys have Street Easy? I don't know. I'm gonna get on some sort of
What is Street Easy?
it's like an apartment hunting app website in New
Oh,
York.
no, but we have
Yeah.
others.
I'm hopping on. I'm hopping on after this. I'm gonna start looking. I'm gonna secure an apartment before get a job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, if other, like, I don't think other, like, Maple Leafs, MLSC, that's who owns the team, right? Like,
Right.
if you're a Torontonian and whatever, like, I don't think you necessarily get paid in American dollars,
Right.
but the NBA players do.
All
And you
right.
can all correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm very confident I'm right about
It
this.
would be funny if you're wrong only because we did like 6 minutes on it. So it would be funny, like for
It
that.
wouldn't be the first time.
But
It wouldn't be
I
the
l-
first time.
I
But
do
think
like
about
that
it,
take.
right? Because like you can't just like if the players got paid in a different currency that was lesser than
Mm,
every other player in the league, that would be a really big deal,
that would yeah. It would. It would.
right? That would be a whole thing.
Yeah. I'm with you. I love this take.
Thank you. I've come with some good takes today.
This is a good yeah, you're doing a great job. This is a good
Thank
show.
you. Oh my god. The only one unhappy is my dog. But anyway, I think it's hottie highlight time.
Mm,
Are we ready? Let's go.
let's do
Okay,
it.
so hottie highlight of the week. Do I sound okay? I'm getting some weird situation in my headphones.
I think you sound all right. Is it me? Is it on my end?
No, no, no. It's
Okay.
definitely me. I have too many cables on this desk and oh my god, it drives me crazy. Anyway, hottie highlight of the week. So there were actually quite a few options this week. All Star is always a great time to get a hottie highlight. And spoiler, no, I did not add Paul George to this equation. Okay, if you saw what he
Wait,
posted.
oh, no, what's the Paul George post?
Oh my god. So he posted like, after having like a 2-point game or whatever, and he goes like
Oh,
on vacation for All-Star on the beach. Do you know what
yes.
I'm getting at
Yes.
here?
Yes.
A provocative photo with his wife.
I did. Now I do know what you're talking about.
That's all. That is not part of the hottie highlight because it's not hottie behavior.
Oh, it's thoughty behavior.
Yes, exactly. Like hottie behavior is the whole point of hottie highlight. Okay, we do not judge on looks here. You're just personality driven. Okay, so we have, I threw in one Raptors hottie highlight here, and that is Masai looking upon Grady Dick like a very proud dad
It's
at the
nice.
Rising Stars Challenge. It was a really fun clip that went around. We have Wemby taking his book to All-Star game. Talked about it before, but again, that's hottie behavior. He's in the zone. He
Mhm.
reads. We love it. And then the third is Anthony Edwards keeping his word about wearing this kid's bracelet. So if you recall, I think we talked about this like a month ago. Anthony Edwards, he met this kid I think he was dealing with cancer, and he had this bracelet, and he's like, I'm going to wear this bracelet for the rest of my career. Brought the kid to All-Star and then gave other All-Stars a bracelet. Now, I don't know if these other All-Stars are going to wear this bracelet.
I love that though.
But really nice gesture. He's really bonded with this kid.
Yeah. Do I pick, or is this like do we vote? How does
No,
this work?
you pick. There's
I
no
pick?
voting here.
All right.
Only because I don't know how to technically make that happen.
All right. So I think I'm going to break this down. First of all, Wembenyama comes in third, and I'm sorry, Wemby. I think that was a cute moment, but
it's his every day.
Yeah, it's his every day. And I know you could use a win right now. You're going through a tough time, but you get a lot of shine, so much so that the whole NBA went and played 2 games in France. All right, so we have catered to you a lot this season. Get well soon, but you're coming in third place. In second place, I want to, man, Grady Dick's in second place. I was gonna give it to Grady Dick, but honestly, that because I saw that clip when it when it was originating, and it was so good. I love it. Also, Grady Dick was awesome in the Rising Stars game that Friday night. He was really, really good. And he looked like I don't know. Is it a hot take? I feel like Grady Dick makes at least one All-Star game
in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying Grady Dick All-Star back in like November, and everyone told me I was crazy.
Like for this year, or just ever?
Oh, for this year.
Oh yeah, I also think that's crazy.
Listen, he went on a run where he had like 30 points, like multiple games in a row. That's when I was saying it. But in his career, yeah, definitely a possibility. I mean, the Raptors, I feel in, the last decade have had a lot of underdogs become All-Stars.
Yeah. I think the reason we go with Anthony Edwards here is that he keeps us guessing with like his brand. You know what I mean? Like we're almost at the point.
Not because he was helping a boy with cancer.
Well, no. yeah. Forget about that. No. Of course, that's the reason why. But I think Ant-Man right now, like he's entering this phase where you could say anything, and then you'd be like, is this true? Like you could say, you can hear any story about Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man, who has been like one of the most confident, cocky players in recent memory. And I mean, I say cocky, but I don't mean it in like a negative way in this sense. And then he comes out and he's like, actually, Wemby's the face of the league. He's also said some pretty out-of-pocket stuff in the past. And then, like everything we learn about him is just it feels more authentic and engaging. And so he doesn't seem like he's got a fake bone in him. So for him to do something like this and then to follow through with it, like 2 All-Star game weekend, I think is really cool. And I think that kid will remember that forever. And for somebody like what you kind of expect it from some people, and not that I don't expect it from Anthony Edwards, because I don't want that to sound like that. I just, for him to be that young.
No, I think it's a fair statement because of, like you said, he has said some out-of-pocket things before. So it's like, okay, what you're saying reminds me of this. It's like when you're, we're both 40 now.
Hell yeah.
And then you look back at yourself, like how old's Anthony Edwards? Like 23? 23. And it's like, I didn't know myself then.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like he's figuring himself out as a young person in the world.
Yeah, and for him, like he is the coolest player in the league right now.
Yeah, he has I think Shea's the coolest player in the NBA.
Shea is cool in a different, like Shea is the vice president to an American thing to Anthony Edwards president. And I don't mean that. That's not a ding on Shea. What I mean by that,
59-minute mark, so much hate is going
No, that's not hate. What I mean by that is Ant-Man. I'm thinking of like student council, like student government back in the day. Whoever was the president was always like, yeah, what's up, man? Like, yeah. Like just a little bit more intense. And that's Anthony Edwards. The vice president was just kind of like, and that's Shea. Shea's like very just mild-mannered, composed. Like Shea's not getting out of pocket.
Are you saying he's like the Dick Cheney?
No. That's why
he was too involved.
Yeah, he was too involved. Let me try to think. We got to get a better. It's like Key and Peele. All right, and you're familiar with Key and Peele?
Yes, we all are.
So Ant-Man is Key and SGA is Peele.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean?
I'll live with that one. Yeah, that's good.
I was trying to land that plane.
It just spun on the tarmac a bit, but everyone survived.
Yeah. And what planes don't? What planes don't?
The plane is destroyed, but everyone lived.
Oh my God. I literally got off the plane from San Francisco back to New York. First thing I see is that going down in Toronto.
Oh God, yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone survived, of course,
Yes.
but it was quite shocking. It was one of those like I was glued to the news kind of moments. Yeah,
absolutely.
But anyway, we'll wrap it up there.
Just a little light dusting on the plane crash trauma, and then we'll call it.
Everyone lived, okay?
It's fine. You're right.
Everyone lived. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. I appreciate you all so much. I will let you know if the Mavericks give me a call. Mike, let us know what you're up to and where we can find you on the internets.
Yeah, I host I used to be a daily. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a show called the NBA Bit. We just break down all things hoops. You can just search for it at NBA Bit with Mike Zakarian. And then I also co-host a new show that just started this season called Hoop Sense with Trayvon Edwards that goes up weekly on the Count the Dings YouTube channel. So go check both of those out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you, everyone, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.